Hey, Matthew.
Hey, Teepa.
So, Matthew, for the rest of this week, we mentioned it on Monday. We're going to be talking about memory because it's such a catchword for people who have some form of brain change. Well, like the debilitating dementia, Alzheimer's, frontal temporal, Lewy body, et cetera, over 120 kind of things. It's one of the factors about it is they can't hold on to things. They can't remember things. And so I wanted to peel that apart a little bit because it's sort of like an onion.
Yeah.
And people think they get it when they talk about, well, she can remember stuff from long ago, but she can't remember what she ate for breakfast is a typical kind of statement. We'll hear people say, I can't remember people's names. I can remember basically the plot of the book, but I can't remember the town it was in or Okay, so does that sound familiar to you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. For me, a lot of times it's the names of the actors in the movies. That's where I'll run into a lot of trying. No, I can't, what is that person's name? I can't remember that person's name, but I remember every detail about the movie and the plot and all that. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So the question is, do you remember sort of what the actor looks like?
Oh yeah. Yeah. If I was to see the actor, I would be like, or I could describe what they look like from what I recall. But yeah, coming up with
Can
the
you
name.
describe what else they were in?
Oh yeah, yeah. I could say, oh yeah, and they were in that. You remember that movie? Yeah, they were in that movie too. They were this character.
Okay,
Oh yeah,
so that's a classic kind of phenomena that we experience. And what you're actually trying to do is use about like 7, 8, 9 types of memory that you actually have to pull a piece of data. And you're actually remembering a whole bunch of stuff to try to find the piece you don't have.
yeah.
So there's this missing piece, and you're using all the other things around it to see if you can't locate it and pluck it out. So I'm going to dive into memory this week a little bit more because I think what happens is there's this sense of people can't remember, and it's like, well, there are certainly specific memory areas and banks that might not be as available, but sometimes people are really good with the memory skills they do have. And then as another part of the brain is damaged, people are trying still some workarounds, which is what makes it so confusing for folks, but it also makes it potentially conflict driven. Because it's such a complicated topic and people tend to think of it as simple, and it's not. Let's talk about how most people talk about memory, okay, which is immediate recall. Like I tell you something, and then within like a very short window of time, like a few minutes, I ask you that information back.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now, in order to do that, something has to happen in your brain called registration. Okay, you have to register the information. Because if I give you stuff and you never even picked it up, what's the likelihood you'll be able to recall it?
Yeah, like zero. Yeah.
Zero, because it never actually got registered in there.
Yeah, I didn't focus on it. I didn't pay attention to it. I didn't, yeah.
Right. Yeah, and when we meet people, that's often a challenge because what we don't realize is how many ways we're recording them. Because when we think about immediate recall, we're talking about something just happened and I'm trying to recall it. Okay. Now, when we do have that recall and we put it in storage, we classically will put it in what we call short-term storage. So it's just short term. We only remember it for a short window of time. Like there's a defined period of time for which this might be something to hold on to. So for that period of time, you set it up as a temporary storage bank. So I've got to go to the doctor's at 2:00 this afternoon, and I need to make sure I bring my medications. I need to make sure that I bring the stuff that he had asked me to do. I've got to double check on that. I want to make sure I have my insurance papers. So I do all this collecting of stuff, and I have to remember then how to get to the doctor's office, what time was the appointment, all the stuff I'm supposed to bring. So that holding on to that. I'm only going to hold on to that as long as I need to go to the doctor. Because when that appointment's over, I will not be thinking of that so much anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's done. It's a finite thing. It's done. So I can let go of that stuff because there's no value in it.
Which is
Really.
important,
I mean, there's no,
because if we didn't do that, I mean, how often then would you continually go, oh, wait, don't I have a doctor's appointment to?
oh, yeah. Because you've
That was
got to
last
be
year.
able to recognize time and how the impact of time, like, oh, well, that's past. That's not present. This is future. So this short-term thing is only for some duration of time, and it varies by person. And then we have what's called long-term memory. Long-term. So that's a whole different thing. So we put it in storage, and because either we've done it over and over and over, or it was really important, it was a quote unquote seminal event. It was something that stuck with us, that was trauma or joyful or often connected to an emotion. But there's a backstory to it. And so we hold on to it. Now, the reality is we may have imperfectly formed it, or it may have been modified in its storage from immediate recall to short memory to long-term memory. But in our mind, it's an accurate memory of the past. Yeah. And we all have
this reminds me of like when you're sitting there and you're reminiscing with your wife, your husband, your mother, your father, and you're talking about something and you're like, yeah, don't you remember our first date? Yeah, we did this and we did this. And the other person says, no, we didn't do that. That wasn't what we did. But that was from something else that we did later. So that idea, like you were talking about, Teepa, plugging in.
Even worse. Oh, wait, that was the girl that you were dating before me.
No, that was us. Yeah. So those moments, because it's something you recall, it's in there, but the data that you're plugging in or where you've kind of put it and you're pulling it out now is that memory. It's not quite exact. It's not. But yeah, that reminds me of those moments when those things happen like that, because it's there, and it seems like that's exactly how it happened to you, because your brain's done such a great job of plugging in the holes or shifting it to make it to what it is for you in that moment. So yeah, it's funny you said that.
Isn't that funny? Yeah. So we have all this stuff, and then we have other ways of talking about memory, and I'm just going to give them to you. So I made a list, because when I was thinking about it, it was like, wow, well, yeah, there's that. Oh, yeah, there's that. So we have this thing called immediate recall. But we also have something called working memory. And working memory is the memory I'm using to tell me, like, I'm doing a recipe. And working memory is getting me through the recipe accurately, because I have to remember I've already done this. I haven't done that. I'm on this. Now I need to mix that. Now this needs to mix with this. Or I'm doing a job like an electrician, or I'm going to start the car. Well, I have to remember where I am in the starting of the car for this to work. But I also have to remember to get out to the car. I need the car keys. I need this. I need that. And we've all had oh, shoot, wait a minute. I have to go back in. I forgot X. Because you get in the car and that's when you realize, oh, I need that for this step. So there's also what we call procedural memories, what we do without thinking. Okay, so that's an important feature. When I do without thinking, that's where our brain should be thinking about, oh, that sounds cerebellar. Yeah, it sounds like a pattern, a rhythm that you don't have to think about, little brain activity. And so as long as you're using that, it's smooth. It's when that gets interrupted by something. All right. Well, then we have spatial memories of space, which is that it comes from spatial orientation. When you have spatial orientation, you start having spatial memories. So I remember that my glasses were on the counter by the sink. I remember that, and this is where frequently you'll find people saying things like, well, I never, that kind of stuff. Make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've always put it right over there by the metal basket. Where is it? Why isn't it here? Oh, well, I had put it somewhere else before because something caused me to go somewhere else and I needed to take it in my pocket.
Yeah. There you go. So we're going to talk some about that as we go forward. And then we have temporal memory, temporal recall, or temporal memory, or temporal episodes, where there it's time, that we have a memory of time. That took about 5 minutes. That took about 15. I did that about an hour ago. I did that, oh gosh, that's been 2 weeks. That's been 3 weeks. And so it's related again to orientation, like orientation to time, but it also means from the past, time-wise, keeping up with stuff. It takes me about 10 minutes to take a shower. It takes me about, so you base it on how long kind of things. And then we have visual memory, visual recall, visual memory. So I see something and I know it. I see someone and I know them. I see an object and I know how to use it. Now that's even a more complex one. So it's object for use. I recognize that object and I know how to use that object. I know how to pick it up. I know how much it'll weigh. I know how much I need to tighten my hand up when I go to do something. I know what it will taste like. I know what. So it's a sensory-based memory. Yeah, Matthew's doing it there, but I know what it's going to feel like in my mouth. I know what it's going to do on my face. I know, so it's not a surprise. Okay. So there's the sensory memory. Then there's also an auditory memory pattern. So it's a visual, it's a kinesthetic memory, it's an auditory memory. And then we have things like procedural memories, which I mentioned, procedure. We also have things like crystallized knowledge, where I learned all the capitals of the US. Now, some people learn those in rhythmic patterns, the states. They can do it the alphabet through just like that, because that's how they learn them. For many of us, that's not how we learn them. So we have to do it by a geograph. So we all have our pattern of how we get to it. But knowing that there are how many states in the US, Matthew?
52. Is that right? I don't know. 51, 50. Am I in the right ballpark?
It's 50, Matthew. It's 50.
50.
Neither DC nor Puerto Rico have made it in yet. It's
we haven't. Oh, okay. We haven't.
Alaska, Hawaii. That was it. Yeah. We haven't changed.
No,
it.
We haven't added any. Oh, are you sure we haven't added any more?
I'm pretty sure there's no additions yet. Those stars and the flags sort of.
What does that tell you about my memory of those things?
Well, apparently your crystallized knowledge is not the same as mine.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
So what we're going to be doing over this week is talking about this stuff and how we don't make use of what we could make use of that people often do have, and how rhythmic memories and those kinds of patterns can really help people who are having brain changes. So that's all we're doing today, is just laying out the carpet to sort of go, wow, that's a lot of stuff. And it's like, yeah, it is. And because we don't respect it, we use global statements like she doesn't remember anything. And it's like, well, that's not true. She can't hold on to anything. That's not true. He doesn't even try. Yes, he does. But I have to decide what to do when I can. And we don't actually register what we think we register, because we don't do what we need to do to register it. So therefore, when we go to access it, it's not actually available. So
like how many states we have.
Yeah, like how many states we have.
Don't take me.
About the province of. I thought the provinces of Canada would be a trick up one, but apparently I didn't get that far.
Don't take me to trivia, to pub trivia. Yeah, I'm not.
Apparently, we should look for another partner.
No, I'm good at going and getting the drinks.
You'll be able to describe the actors, but
no, I'm good with those visuals. Yeah, you got it.
Maybe you have sports teams. I don't know. We'll see what we can do. We'll find a spot for you.
There you go. Thanks, Teepa.
All right, everybody. So for today, this is a teaser, but the teaser is don't be so sure that they can't, or you can't, or anyone can't, because sometimes we're just making the categories way too big. And of course, we all have issues around something. So till next time, join us and find out more about memory. Take care, all.
Thanks, Teepa. Bye, everybody.
Hi, I'm Teepa Snow, and you just found our YouTube channel and watched one of our videos. I'm the owner and founder of Positive Approach to Care. Thanks for watching, and if you liked, if you have a comment about, or you would, please share it with people you know. Oh, and if you haven't yet done it, consider subscribing. We'll let you know when the next new video comes out. And you might want to visit our website, www.teepasnow.com, where you'll find other resources as well. See you there.